When my shuttle descended through the violet clouds of Alaris Prime, I had already been warned 3 times not to make sudden decisions. The first warning came from the human diplomatic office. Do exactly what Palace Protocol says. The second came from the alien escort ship attached to my shuttle. Do not touch anything unless instructed. The third warning came from the medical officer reviewing my assignment file. And if they request blood confirmation, answer slowly before agreeing. At the time, that last warning sounded oddly specific. By the end of the day, I understood why. I was Adrian Vale, a biomedical systems specialist from the outer human colonies, sent because the Imperial Medical Network of the Valoran Empire had encountered a biological anomaly none of their specialists could stabilize. Officially, I was a consultant. Unofficially, I suspected I had been invited because human medicine often solved problems by trying what more advanced civilizations considered inelegant. And apparently the patient involved was not just important. She ruled half the known sectors. The Imperial Palace rose from the center of the capital like a silver-black mountain shaped into impossible geometry. Every tower reflected stormlight. Bridges of transparent crystal connected upper structures suspended over open air. Ships hovered in fixed lanes around the central spire, their movements synchronized with machine precision. Inside, silence ruled more than sound. No wasted footsteps. No unnecessary speech. Every corridor seemed designed to remind visitors they were being measured. My escort finally stopped before a circular chamber guarded by 6 armored sentinels. The doors opened. Inside stood the woman every government in nearby systems discussed carefully. Queen Seralith Vane. She was taller than I expected, wearing dark ceremonial robes threaded with silver biolight patterns that moved faintly like living circuitry. Her hair fell in pale metallic strands over one shoulder, and her eyes, bright gold-edged with something almost luminous, held the kind of stillness that made most people lower their own gaze automatically. I understood immediately why military briefings described her as calm in ways humans found unsettling. Beside her stood medical officials, all visibly tense. One stepped forward. Your Majesty's metabolic lattice rejected 2 stabilizing compounds. Human adaptive plasma pathways may offer compatibility. That sentence translated roughly into, we tried everything, now we want human biology. Queen Seralith studied me directly. You understand the procedure? Blood compatibility analysis, then synthetic matching, I answered. Possibly more, the medical officer added. I did not like the sound of possibly. The Royal Medical Chamber beneath the palace looked more advanced than any station I had worked on. Transparent diagnostic walls, suspended instruments, bioreactive surfaces that adjusted to movement before anyone touched them. At the center stood a medical platform surrounded by glowing vertical panels. Queen Seralith removed the outer ceremonial layer of her robe without hesitation and lay beneath the diagnostic field while officials monitored everything in absolute silence. The issue became clear quickly. Her species carried a highly structured bioelectric regulatory system unlike anything human physiology used. Something in her own treatment had destabilized internal resonance between cellular repair and neural regulation. Their synthetic compounds failed because they were too exact. Human plasma, less elegant, more adaptive, offered unpredictable flexibility. I explained carefully. A minimal transfer may work, but if compatibility spikes, stop immediately. The chief physician nodded. Samples were prepared. The first transfer began. For 11 seconds, everything remained stable. At 12, every monitor changed color. At 13, alarms triggered. And before anyone could interrupt, the Queen's body reacted violently. Not in collapse, but synchronization. The medical chamber lights dimmed. A pulse of gold light moved beneath her skin. Then into mine. The transfer line burst apart. I stumbled backward as pain shot through my arm like liquid electricity. Every system in the chamber screamed warnings. One physician shouted, "Terminate resonance." But termination came too late, because whatever had started was no longer in the equipment. It was in us. For 3 full seconds, no one moved. Then every monitor stabilized at once. Not separately. Together. The Queen sat upright slowly, breathing controlled, but visibly changed. I felt my own heartbeat strangely amplified, sharp, clear, too present. Then something impossible happened. I felt another rhythm. Not mine. Close. Distinct. A second heartbeat. Her heartbeat. At the exact same moment, Queen Seralith looked directly at me with unmistakable surprise. Because she had clearly felt mine too. The chief physician turned pale. No. Another official checked readings twice. Then whispered the phrase that froze the entire chamber. Genetic bond. The room went silent. Not quiet. Silent in the way people become silent when history happens in front of them unexpectedly. I looked between them. What exactly does that mean? No one answered immediately, which usually means the answer is bad. Finally, the chief physician spoke carefully. In Royal Vellern biology, direct post-transfer resonance between compatible genomes creates bonded sensory overlap. That still explains nothing. It has never occurred with a non-royal outsider. Queen Seralith stood. Her gaze remained locked on mine, and I realized with unsettling clarity that I could still feel her pulse. Steady, controlled, but there, like distant sound inside my own chest. Within an hour, the palace had changed mood entirely. Guards doubled. Ministers arrived. Medical records sealed. Because apparently the Queen sharing an involuntary DNA bond with a human consultant qualified as imperial crisis. Lord Varric Sol, chief political advisor, reacted first and loudest. This cannot leave this chamber. It already has, said another official quietly, pointing to system alerts spreading through internal palace networks. The bond had triggered royal biosecurity protocols automatically, meaning half the palace already knew something unprecedented had happened. Varric turned toward me like I personally designed biology. You were instructed on compatibility risk? I was instructed on medical support, not accidental empire-wide panic. The Queen raised one hand. That alone ended the room's rising voices. Then she said calmly, "Everyone leaves except the physician and the human." No one argued. Even ministers obeyed immediately. When the chamber emptied, silence returned, but different now. More personal. More dangerous. The physician explained what everyone feared. Vellern queens carried a hereditary cellular marker tied to ancient neural regulation systems unique to ruling bloodlines. Under extremely rare conditions, adaptive foreign DNA could form temporary resonance if the foreign biology stabilized a failing royal system. But temporary had one problem. No historical record showed what happened if the foreign biology remained fully compatible. Because no foreign species had ever matched before. Human plasma had not merely stabilized her. It had integrated. Enough to create sensory bleed-through. Meaning limited emotional and physiological perception between us. Which explained why, while he spoke, I could feel her irritation each time the physician became overly cautious. And she clearly noticed when my own pulse accelerated. Because her eyes shifted instantly. "You feel that too," I said. "Yes." No denial. No alarm. Just fact. What exactly are we feeling? Primary physiological patterns, the physician answered. Heart rhythm. Stress elevation. Possibly stronger responses if triggered. That sounded deeply inconvenient. For a queen, probably catastrophic. For me, potentially fatal if politics got involved. The physician left after warning us to avoid strong neural overload until adaptation settled. That left only me and the Queen, and the very strange awareness that neither of us could fully hide internal reaction anymore. The first true test came sooner than expected. That evening, during formal court briefing, Queen Saralith resumed public duties. Against medical advice, I stood behind secondary officials, hoping invisibility remained possible. It did not, because halfway through strategic reports, one minister openly demanded explanation. The palace medical wing has triggered hereditary alert status. Why? Before the Queen answered, someone noticed me. Then several noticed. Then the room connected details rapidly. Lord Varick spoke carefully, but loudly enough for all to hear. The human was present. Every eye turned. And in that exact moment, I felt something from across the chamber. Not anger, not fear. A sharp pulse of royal irritation from the Queen herself, because she disliked where this was heading. Which meant, impossibly, I could sense her emotional shift before she spoke. The realization startled me enough that my own pulse changed. Instantly her eyes flicked toward me. The court noticed that too. A minister whispered. She reacted to him. The chamber went completely still. Then Queen Saralith rose. The medical event is under Crown authority. No one interrupted. The human remains under palace protection. That phrase mattered because reactions worsened immediately. Protection implied official significance. In some interpretations, intimate significance. Whispers spread like controlled fire. The empire went silent externally, but internally, everyone began panicking. By midnight, rumors had reached outer sectors. Some claimed I had poisoned the Queen. Others claimed I had become biologically linked to succession law. One especially dramatic internal report suggested human infiltration through bloodline manipulation. Meanwhile, I sat in a private medical observation room while trying to ignore the fact that whenever the Queen moved somewhere nearby, I could faintly detect changes in her pulse. Then the palace lights cut out. Emergency red illumination flooded corridors. A sabotage alarm. The same instant power failed. A sharp spike hit my chest. Not pain, but sudden alarm that was not mine. Her alarm. I stood immediately. Without thinking, I followed instinct through corridors I had never learned. Left turn. Upper lift. Security gate. 2 guards tried stopping me until palace doors opened automatically at my approach. Because apparently bonded DNA now triggered partial royal access. Inside the upper command chamber, Queen Saralith stood facing a failing defense console. "Why are you here?" she asked. "You were alarmed." That answer visibly stunned 2 officers. Because I should not have known. But there it was, proof of bond beyond medical theory. The sabotage had targeted orbital defense alignment. Ancient systems require dual bioconfirmation after internal threat detection. Normally, only hereditary royal markers worked. Tonight, the system requested a second compatible signature. And every officer understood the implication before I did. The Queen looked at me once, then toward the second console. "Place your hand there." "You're certain?" "No," she said honestly. "But the station grid falls if we hesitate." So I touched it. Instantly, the system lit gold. Not silver. Gold, the same frequency linked to her console. The room erupted in stunned silence as both signatures synchronized. Defense grids restored. Sabotage stopped. And every officer present now knew one terrifying fact. The palace recognized me. The next morning, full imperial court assembled. No delays. No secrecy possible anymore. Every major minister present. Military commanders. Judicial advisors. Foreign observers. And me standing below the throne while half the empire waited for explanation. Lord Varick spoke first. Ancient law contains no precedent. Queen Serlith answered immediately. Then ancient law learns. He hesitated. Your Majesty, if bond permanence continues, it changes nothing regarding authority. That was technically true, but politically incomplete, because everyone had seen systems obey both signatures. Then she did something no one expected. She descended from the throne, stopped beside me, and said, clearly enough for every chamber recorder, the bond occurred through service, not ambition. Silence deepened. Without his intervention, I would not stand here. Her pulse remained perfectly steady. Mine did not, and she definitely noticed. A faint, nearly invisible shift touched her expression, perhaps the closest thing to restrained amusement royal protocol allowed. Then came the decree. The human remains under direct crown trust until bond analysis concludes. Direct crown trust was stronger than protection. It meant untouchable by factional politics. No minister challenged it, because none could risk opposing her publicly while systems still responded to shared signature. That evening, on a balcony above Alaris Prime, the storm clouds had cleared enough to reveal orbital lights circling the planet. For the first time since arrival, silence felt almost normal. Queen Serlith stood beside the railing. No one in 3,000 years expected human biology to solve royal medicine, she said. I'm fairly sure human biology didn't expect this either. A brief pause. Then, can you still feel it? Yes. Her heartbeat, steady, calm, distant but real. And you? Yes, she answered. We stood there with two heart rhythms crossing species, law, and history. Below us, an empire debated consequences. Above us, palace systems now carried both signatures in their hidden memory.